All right. Hello, everyone. We are live now with Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. Apologies for being a little bit behind this evening, just finishing up with patients. Okay, so this is Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. This is a 4-week course, a 4-week collective that we are discussing every single week on Thursdays in the evening. We will be discussing all things nutrition. There is a structured program to this. This is a 4-week collective. It accounts for about 2 credit hours, and also 30 CEU credits if you need CEUs. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Who is this course designed for? This is designed for nutrition beginners, people that have never taken a nutrition class before and need some baseline information. Naturally, for health-focused individuals, I specifically built this course for people that were really busy, right? And so I built this kind of concept when I was absolutely swamped working just a ton and really did not have time to stop and focus on eating healthy. I needed a system, a process that I could put in place really easily that could keep me from not ordering out, but rather eating healthy food. So, this is also good for people that want to change their lifestyle. Maybe you have been eating out or eating unhealthy food, and you really just need to reset your diet. Hey, Divinely. And also for people that are curious about nutrition, there's so much information out there about nutrition. So hopefully, hey DJ, this serves as a way to begin to understand nutrition in a more empowered way. This is a 4-week online course. It's designed to help us busy professionals establish their foundation, hence Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. The learning objectives are students will learn how to build balanced meals, interpret food labels, understand your macronutrients and personalize your eating styles. And by the end, you will have planned a sustainable nutrition routine for yourself. The course structure, I'm going to host a live every single week. So on Thursdays, where we go over the course material. But this course also has a companion app to it. Hey, Vicki, a companion app to it. Hey, Don't Sip. The companion app really goes over it breaks it down. You get an email that day. You also get meal plans and things like that. So those work together. Thank you for the likes. Those work together in this self-paced app lessons. And then we have our live weekly lecture. The delivery format is online. Naturally, I do the classes. Classes are recorded and they're put in the course shell afterwards. And then you have your app that you will be able to track your food on, track your water on, and be able to synchronize with the instruction that we're working on. So it's partially going to be hosted, with our 1 hour class once a week on Thursdays, but then also too, we'll be reinforcing it in the app. We'll review a little bit of it. You'll have access to ask me questions, to plug your food in, and really to get more hands-on learning with this particular class. The class is 4 weeks long, a total of 12 hours. 18 hours of self-study time over the course of a month, and then 30 hours of learning time, and that's based off of, again, the accreditation standards. Credit details. So with the various accreditation bodies that we are applying to, it will be 30 CEU hours. And then the academic credit for certification is 2 credit hours. And this is actually an elective course that can be taken, hence why it's 4 weeks long. Hey, Chrissy. Hey, DDG Sauce. DDG Sauce. All right. So this is an elective course and or a continuing education. After the 4 weeks and after your completion of your assignments, you will get a certificate. We are working towards our accreditation, and so we are working towards our accreditation with the Complementary Medical Association, International Practitioners of Holistic Medicine, International Council for Alternative and Holistic Practitioners, and this has a qualification pathway of holistic nutrition, holistic health coaching, lifestyle coaching, and then functional wellness foundations. So we are in week 1, and we're going to be talking about nutrition mindset, the mindset that you need to have around your nutrition and eating healthy and eating well. Thank you for the follow. We're going to also be discussing what are macros, your macronutrients, your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. We'll touch on basics of reading food labels, and we'll talk about just cracking the code on packaged foods. And then we'll also discuss building a balanced plate, and I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on what you can expect with the app. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. So there are 3 macronutrients. Let me catch you guys up on the TikTok. All right, cool. So there's 3 macronutrients that you should be aware of. They are your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. So remember, your proteins are there to repair. They're good for muscle repair and growth. Things that constitute your protein are going to be your meat, fish, eggs, dairy, and then in plant-based sources, legumes, tofu, tempeh, beans, nuts, and seeds. So those are your common protein sources. Your fats are crucial for hormone production as well as nutrient absorption. Common healthy fats are avocado, olive oil, avocado oil, nuts, seeds, and fatty fishes like salmon. And then your carbohydrates, which is where we get our short-term energy stores and our primary energy source of our body, is going to be more of our fruits and veggies, legumes, and our whole grains. So we call them macro because they're big molecules and we need other nutrients to break that down. So for instance, for our proteins, we need yes. Well, and carbs, I think, scare people because of diet culture. We have been sold on this idea of low carb, no carb. And unfortunately, it's just not accurate because we need most of our diet to come from our carbohydrates. Now, there are 2 different types of carbohydrates. There's your complex carbohydrates, which are your fruits and your vegetables. And then there's what we call simple carbohydrates, which can spike your blood sugars. Those simple carbohydrates are more of your processed, like your white potatoes, your rice, those sorts of things, your bread, your pasta. Those are all the simple carbohydrates that spike blood sugar. So the complex carbohydrates and the simple carbohydrates are actually 2 different carbohydrates, but unfortunately, the complex carbohydrates gets all the rap for the simple ones. So the simple carbohydrates will spike blood glucose levels, but your complex carbohydrates, which are your fruits and your vegetables, for the most part, there are some that are high glycemic and low glycemic. So there's what we call glycemic indexes on your carbohydrates. So if you're concerned about blood sugar spikes, you're going to want to eat more of those lower glycemic fruits and vegetables. So we typically start off with protein because protein actually stabilizes blood glucose in the body. So again, protein is made to repair and heal. In order to break down protein, you need stomach acid. A lot of people have deficiencies in stomach acid. And because of that, when they eat, their bodies are not breaking down those proteins as efficiently. So what happens is those big molecules now go undigested in their small intestines and create a putrefaction process known as dysbiosis or imbalance in intestinal flora. So that happens again when there's not enough stomach acid to be able to emulsify and break down the fats. Proteins also need thiamine, which is B complex 1, in order to break that down, in addition to, like I said, hydrochloric acid. So B complexes, but specifically thiamine is really important, and lipoic acid can also assist in that protein synthesis. For our fats, we need 2 amino acids put together, lysine and leucine, and those 2 amino acids help us to create carnitine, which then we break down our fats. Carbohydrates, we need that B complexes and lipoate in order to break down that process as well. So again, we're breaking the macros, those big molecules, into those micros to be able to use. What are your micronutrients? That's your vitamins and your minerals. So when we talk about nutrient deficiencies, we first have to begin at the top, meaning we have to begin at those big molecules and making sure that your macronutrients are balanced. There are different balances with your macronutrients that we'll look at for different purposes. For instance, if you're going to be working out really hard, you may need a little bit more fat. Or if you want to, let's say, gain weight or you're lifting more fat is going to be helpful. But let's say you want to run a marathon or something like that, more of endurance, you're going to carb load, you're going to add more carbohydrates because you need more of that short term energy. If you need to repair or heal, like let's say you have an autoimmune condition or something that needs additional support, you're going to use primary protein sources to be able to break down and digest and assimilate. So we're going to really begin to look at our food as medicine, not necessarily asking ourselves, what tastes good, what sounds good, but rather what's actually good for our body, what we can utilize, and what's going to help us to be able to heal. So keeping that into consideration as we are working through our macros. So reading our food labels, so basics on food labels. So you really don't want to eat anything that you don't read the label on. I know a lot of times we're really busy running around doing 1,000 different things, but if you do spend time in the grocery store or even just begin to get curious about what it is that you're currently eating, go ahead and start by first identifying the serving sizes. And that's just how many servings are in a package. You would be surprised. Sometimes it states that, only, one of these unhealthy things is one serving or a half a serving or a quarter of a serving. And here you've already eaten 5 servings already. So start to look at your serving size because the caloric intake and the macronutrients are based off of the serving size. So don't be fooled and tricked with that. Also, you want to check your calories, not from the perspective of now I'm counting calories, because we rarely actually count calories. Counting calories is important to make sure that you are eating the amount of nutrition that you're eating, but we typically find more with lifestyle eaters. If you're not training for something, there's not really a need to really focus in because you're going to eat when you're hungry after we get that metabolism, in better shape. And so we also want to check the calories just to make sure. Like for instance, I remember like a long time ago, I went to the movie theater, right? I think I went to go see I don't know, it was some like Marvel something or other. I'm not even a big Marvel person, but it was something. I think my daughter wanted to go to it. Anyway, so they had the calories on the because all of restaurants now in the United States must show their calorie content in their food. They must have the nutrition facts available for people. So any restaurant that you're in, you can request the nutrition facts. So I was looking up at the board, as we're waiting in the concession line, and one tub of this popcorn was literally 3,000 calories, right? So just to put this into perspective, if I sat there and ate one bucket of popcorn during this movie, right, I would be eating in essence almost 2 days worth of calories that I would consume. So what do you think would happen if I ate all of that? Of course, I'm going to gain weight. Of course, I'm going to bog my system down, not to even mention that my body doesn't like corn anyway. So, but that's aside the point. And so we're going to look at our calorie content just to make sure that those calories are not off the charts. Your average meal is going to be around 300 to 500 calories, just so you can kind of keep that number. On the low end, around 250, but for the average adult, your meal is going to have about 300 to 500 calories in it per meal. And then we want to begin to look at your macronutrients. Again, those are your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. Depending on where your macros fall, typically when it comes to your protein, you want to have no more than 40 grams of protein. Why that? because you can't digest and assimilate any more than that. So some people want to load up on protein. All you're going to do is constipate yourself, slow your digestion down, and all of those things. These are very much a balance. So we want to be mindful that we're not over proteining. Uh, so in that one meal a day, so you could eat one meal a day if you're getting all of your calories and all of your macros in that one meal. Now, I'm going to retract that a little bit because you can only consume up to 40 grams of protein per sitting. So you're going to be protein deficient if because an average adult is around 150 grams of protein per day. So, you got to make sure that you're eating, enough to be able to. I do know that like sometimes yogis will restrict their food down to only one meal a day, but that's a little bit of a different practice. It's more to cut inflammation. I wouldn't say it's the healthiest, and it's definitely not something you want to do all the time, but skipping meals is not recommended. You don't really want to skip your meals, because if you skip meals, your blood sugar is going to just be rocking and rolling all over the place. And if your blood sugar is rocking and rolling all over the place, what is going to happen? Your mood is also going to be rocking and rolling all over the place. So that means that, when your blood sugar drops down and you're more in a hypoglycemic state, that blood sugar is going to shoot up. And if that blood sugar shoots up, you're going to gain anxiety. So also too, if the blood sugar dips down, you can have obviously blood sugar crashes. So things like being hangry, irritable, dizzy, kind of nauseous feeling, that kind of sensation. Now, equally so, if you have too much glucose, if you're constantly driving that glucose, like you're eating a lot of really sugary things, and then you're starving yourself out from your other macronutrients, specifically your proteins. Now you're putting your pancreas through a lot. You're going up and down and up and down, and that's kind of at the beginning of where that insulin resistance happens, because the pancreas now is not as sensitive, because you keep jacking it up and crashing and jacking it up and crashing and jacking it up. So you definitely want to look at your macronutrients when you're looking at your food label, checking out the protein, what the protein source is, looking at the fat, definitely making sure that the fat isn't crazy. A lot of times people don't pay attention to fat because it's like this idea that, healthy fat is healthy fat. But in reality, it's going to slow down the gallbladder and slow down the liver. And a lot of people suffer from fatty liver and fatty liver disease, or they suffer from gallbladder stones or gallbladder problems or slow digestion in general. So we want to be mindful of that. Also, to your carbohydrates, so we want to be mindful. Is this a simple carb? Is this a complex carb? What's the glycemic index on this? Is it going to be spiking my glucose, or is it going to keep my glucose nice and stable? So we're going to look at the macronutrients as well, and we're going to focus in this order on proteins, then fats, then calories, then carbohydrates. So I found that if we kind of focus on that, we focus on proteins first to give the body, number one, blood sugar stabilization, but also to make sure that your body has enough energy to repair and heal. Then we lower the fat, because inevitably people eat too low of protein and fill up with fat, because fat is very filling, and so you're not going to be as hungry. So that's why eating that one meal may be a challenge, because then you may want to crave fats in that one meal, and then you're building up and you're gaining weight. And then so want to make sure we look at your proteins first, then we look at your fats, make sure those fats are down, and then naturally those calories are a little bit lower as you're trying to fill in the gaps of your food, and we fill those with carbohydrates, so you should be able to hit it. And then from there, it's pretty much wash, rinse, repeat. This is a skill. Remember, back in health school, we learned very, very basic. I don't even think they don't even teach the food pyramid anymore, but I remember the food pyramid, and we would learn very basics, but not necessarily how to apply that. This class is really designed to teach you how to apply that. And then the last thing you're going to look at when you're looking at your food label is you're going to scan the ingredients. I'm going to make it really easy. If you can pronounce it, if you know what it is, you're good. If you cannot pronounce it, don't know what it is, probably put it back on the shelf. Why? Because there's so many different preservatives. And I also want to make sure you realize that, you know, health marketing and nutrition marketing is at an all-time high, especially people trying to grift and make money these days and hawk in this diet and hawk in that diet. And so we want to be really mindful because usually the front of the packaging, I always like to say it's kind of like a mullet, business in the front and party in the back. So it'll say on the front, gluten free, USDA, blah, 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 kissed by the monks in Himalayas. And then on the back, it'll have gluten and high fructose corn syrup and food dyes and additives and colors. So definitely make sure you flip that package over and read the nutrition facts so that you are more educated. It's okay in the beginning if you don't know what this word means or that word means or what any of it means, really. It's just getting yourself familiar and exposing yourself with it. Really easy, though. If you can't pronounce it, more than likely you don't want to put it in your body. So we definitely want to begin to build a mindset. So this first week is really all about building a mindset and getting yourself mentally prepared to start shifting your diet. And so you're going to want to be present to what you're currently doing. And what does that mean, being present? Start to look at the labels that you are consuming. Start to read things when you go to the store. Start to pick things up. Don't just be reactive and do the same old thing because, again, you're going to get the same old results. All right, so now that we've looked at those food labels, now let's look at building a balanced plate. And so we're going to use different ingredients to do that. First things first is we're going to do a palm sized portion of protein. So a palm sized portion of protein, depending on how big your palm is about 3 to 4 ounces of protein. So we know just by our palm, this is about 3 to 4 ounces of protein. That's an average protein amount that you would need for a woman, an adult woman. So typically, adult men are going to need about 6 grams of protein. Again, men's hands typically are a little bit bigger than women's. Mine's a little tiny one. And so, as we have kind of bigger palms, right, that's going to give you the feedback that you need. So of course you don't have to use your hand. You can of course get a scale and all of that, but also too, what I used to love is that I would buy directly from the manufacturer, and they would pre-package all of the proteins in their single serving. So you can get pre-packaged organic chicken breast, you can get pre-packaged fish fillets, you can get things that are pre-packaged, meaning that they have done whatever they do with the animal, and then they package it out into little single serve. Now, those are for your animal-based proteins. So chicken breast, turkey breast, white fish are your leaner ones. Now, you can do things like an occasional beef, which is definitely the ratio of fat to protein. So it's closer together, meaning that there's more fat to ratio than protein, even though it's touted for having high protein. Red meat it's also a really fatty protein source. With things like pork is a very unhealthy animal. And so we tend to recommend not to eat things like pork simply because of parasites and parasitic infections. And so other red meats like your lambs and those sorts of things, again, really high fat and not enough protein yield. So we tend to avoid those and stay away from those. Even if you don't have a quote unquote weight problem, you definitely want to be mindful of that because it will slow digestion. It's going to slow your gallbladder. It's going to slow your liver. It's going to slow your metabolic function down. So we want to keep those balance ratios where we maintain our proteins and keep our fats low. Speaking of fats, we want to have no more than a thumb size portion of healthy fat. So this top of the thumb. So that's really not a lot. So those people who, wake up every morning and eat avocado toast, God bless you. However, that is way too much fat for one day. One avocado is about 22 grams of fat. And on average, an adult female needs around 30 to 40 grams of fat per day. Men can go upwards into the 40s. And then I wouldn't really push it past that, but 40, 45 grams of fat. So we really, fat is a high commodity. You can't really budget too much for fat. You've got to keep that fat low. I try to keep every single meal around 6 grams of fat just so that I maintain throughout the day. Doesn't mean that once a week you can't have a quote unquote cheat meal. Remember, we're having a cheat meal, not a cheat day. So let's just clarify days versus hours. And so we want to make sure that we, have one kind of meal per week that we can kind of let everything hang out. But for the rest of the week, we want to get this structure. So you've got your 4-ounce protein, you've got your thumb size portion of fats. Half of your plate is going to come from non-starchy vegetables with a good color array. So what are those non-starchy vegetables? That's going to be like your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli, your kale, your collards, those sorts of things that are not starch filled. You're also going to try to get more color arrangements that you can. And this one, obviously, we have some berries, which have great antioxidants in them. What does that look like? Kind of an interesting, I guess it's oatmeal, which has some good fiber in there, some kiwis as well, which that is more of a high glycemic. Any of your tropical fruits are going to be more of your high glycemic, so they are going to spike your blood sugar a bit. Then we want to really focus on our complex carbohydrates, which we've talked about a little bit. But in that, we do have our whole grains, our starchy veg. So that's going to be things like your sweet potatoes, your rice. We want to keep those very minimally while we are working to eat. Even though it does classify as complex carbohydrates, those other things, we want to really pay attention to the glucose and the glucose index and how that spikes our blood glucose, because those spikes up and down really contribute to insulin deficiency or insulin resistance and insulin sensitivities later on down the road. So with our plate, we have our 4-ounce or a 6-ounce piece of protein. If we're going to do fish, we do 2 fillets of fish versus the one. One fillet has about 20 grams of protein in it. 2 is about 40. Remember, 40 is about your max. One thumb size portion of your healthy fats per meal. So not all day, but per meal. And then half of your plate is going to come from colorful, low glycemic veg, which we already went over. And then the remaining little bit is going to be more of your starchy veg, like your sweet potato, your rice, etc. You can also, what you can do with um, those particular ingredients is you can mix them up. So you can take those ingredients and you can pretty much apply them to anything. We saw them in a plate format, but you can translate that plate to, let's say, a stir fry on the stove. You can also do, let's say, a wrap with hey Anna, with lettuce. You can do a salad. You can do a soup. You can do a bowl like you would get at Chipotle. So all different types of arrangements that you can do with that. So like I was telling you, this course comes with the Holistic Life app. That is a companion guide. That's going to be found in your communities on the right sidebar. So I'll make an extra video to kind of walk you through as a tutorial. With this particular class, you're going to get the companion guide, and the companion guide is Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. So this class technically is called Jumpstart to Healthy Living, and included with this is kind of a companion course, Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. So with the app, you will get pretty much every single day. You will get what we're working on, whether that's mindset, whether that is reading nutrition labels, whether that is building your meals, but also too, they have starter meal plans in them to kind of teach you about building your meals. So they're more, we have pescatarian meal plans in there, which are just fish only. And we also have vegetarian meal plans as well. I think I have a few that are like animal-based ones, but primarily it's pescatarian and more vegetarian style. So thank you, Triple OG. Thank you, TikTok Jim. All right. And then there is starting next week, so not this week. This week is all kind of orientation and getting set up. Starting next week, you will get a weekly grocery list. So every single week with the recipes, we'll also have a grocery list accompanied. So you can start to pre-prep and pre-plan, which obviously we'll go over kind of how best to structure that. This was originally recorded again when my life was insane. And so there are a few videos that have been recorded in there. Excuse me, in my kitchen, in my shorts kind of thing. But I will show you kind of how to meal prep in a really easy way. I show you how to grocery shop in a really efficient way. I was not a big fan of grocery shopping. I know some people absolutely love to grocery shop. I'm not that girl. And so I show you different options for grocery shopping as well, really to save your time. Hey, DJ. Hey, Mushroom Man. Also, there'll be this weekly video. So you'll have weekly videos, but I'm trying to keep this particular class kind of short and sweet and to the point, especially because we've got that big old long 12-week foundational class that is pretty in depth. So there'll be weekly videos. So you'll have this weekly instructional video. And there's also kind of little 20-minute videos that are sparsed in on the app. And then naturally, there's some meal plan examples with the grocery list, and it'll build concepts. You will get an email each day once you have the companion app installed on your phone, and there'll be things to check off, and you're also encouraged to track your food. In order to actually pass this class, you do need to have tracked your food for 21 days. They don't have to be consecutive days, but since this is a 30-day class, 21 days. So you got a week, 1 week, which is this first week. But starting next week, you'll want to start tracking your food. And I will go over ways, tips, and tricks to make tracking your food less painful, depending on the strategy. Everything is about strategy with health. So I'll go over, there's 3 or 4 main strategies when it comes to tracking your food, which we'll go over those because it'll be helpful. So once you're in the community, whether it's holistic lifestyle, pure black, or holistic health coaching. And forgive me guys, because I'm definitely having some, what do you call it? Technological glitchiness. And I've been working with tech support all day and just trying to get things together. So thank you all for your patience as we get this class. So I don't think this class is going to show up, but I will be posting later videos and things like that so that you'll have that. So that's pretty much the companion app and how that serves. So how the companion guide is broken down. Once you get registered in there, day 1 is welcome. So that's kind of this day. We're welcoming everybody in. Then we jump into mindset. I'll probably record a meditation for you for that, just to get you again in that mindset of eating healthy, structuring your food, etc. Remember, our actions and our habits and our behaviors come from what we're telling ourselves, but more importantly, what we're fueling emotionally. So our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions create our actions, habits, behaviors, and then eventually our lifestyles. Day 3, we jump into macros. So that's why we kind of went over macros. And each one of these will also have a little companion video as well to it. And then we'll work on reading food labels. It'll give you some more in-depth information as to how to read food labels and some things to look for. And then it begins to go into meal choices, meal planning, and then you're going to start in just by tracking your protein. So you're not going to be tracking all your metrics initially. You're just going to be tracking your protein, making some adjustments with that, and then we move on to your fats, then your calories, and ultimately your carbs balance themselves out. So this is what the companion guide looks like. It's kind of broken out into each day. Let me go ahead and flip this over just so that you guys can see it on TikTok. So again, let me close this down. Hold on one second. So like I was saying with the companion app, we start off with that welcome, then we go into our mindset and really making sure that we are, getting our mind in the right headspace. Whenever I'm making a transition, it's always about getting my mind in a right headspace before I launch into something. So that's what this week is all about, is getting your mind and your body kind of into what we're doing here. And then we really start choosing, we'll start sifting and sorting what your preferred proteins are, what your preferred carbohydrates are, what your preferred fats are, and then you'll start kind of playing around in terms of making meals for yourself, all while you're reading labels and planning your food. So we'll break it down. It should be a pretty fun time, if I do say so myself. So that is pretty much all I had for you guys today. It's a nice, short, and sweet class, really to just go over what we're up to in Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. I will be recording some follow up videos and posting them on TikTok and also YouTube. So definitely, hey, Chastity. So definitely check those out. For there's about there'll be 3 videos for Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. We'll probably focus mainly on mindset, your macros, and then a little bit about your reading of your food labels. Really, next week is all about kind of meal planning and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to get too invested into the meal planning part because we're going to really reinforce it next week. But this week is all about getting your mind right. I'm not a big proponent of like throw out your old lifestyle. So I know a lot of people when they are eating healthy or when they're going to start eating healthy, the tendency is I'm going to throw everything that I did before out. And I'm going to start all completely fresh and I'm going to start eating all this way. And what happens is that usually people fail, break down, and stop doing that. Why do they stop doing it? Why do they fail, break down? Because they don't have a sustainable lifestyle. They have a get quick fix solution that's really not sustainable. So we want to create a structure to which we can fulfill upon. And you're going to go through a lot of iterations when it comes to your structure. So don't assume that the structure you have today with your meals is going to be the structure that you're going to have tomorrow, next week, or the week after. It just simply doesn't work that way. So I remember way back in the day, I used to prep food every single week. I would go to the grocery store on Sunday. I would come home. I'd chop all the vegetables up. I'd get all the protein seasoned. And then I would spend all my afternoon grilling and cooking and fixing. And then I have all these cute little containers. Everything's matched up, organized. Well, guess what? By Wednesday, I'd be throwing my food out and ordering on Uber. And I watched myself do that week after week after week, totally frustrated, not able to stop myself. But it's because I can't force myself to do something. So I really have agency over my body and I have personal respect over me and my body and what I do and I don't do. And sometimes it doesn't always make sense. But if my motivation is not to eat the food or whatever, I'm going to again do what I'm motivated to do, which is why I teach from that rebel perspective because I'm a rebel at heart. So we don't want to force ourselves to this process. This is actually supposed to be a really progressive process. Your eating patterns the first week are not going to be the same as the last week, especially as you start to really incorporate some of these tools and understandings. And what I love about this process that I've perfected and worked out year after year is that your body will tell you, right? So it's not even me telling you, oh, don't eat that, don't eat that. I'm going to tell you right now, eat anything you want, right? However, you're not going to be exempted from the impacts of that food. So you may be able to enjoy it ish for the first, 45 seconds or however long you have it in your mouth before you swallow it. But just realize that over time, it's not going to necessarily bode well because your body's going to begin to give you some instant feedback. Because again, we start with blood sugar stabilization. We start with getting you enough nutrients to repair and heal. And then we start driving energy, energy, energy. So as we start doing that with our food, the body's going to start to heal itself. Then the body becomes more sensitive to the things that you're putting in it. Ever notice that if you stop eating, let's say dairy, rice, pasta, anything, and then you go start eating it again, like your body's like, what are you doing to us, right? And so sometimes we have willpower and control, and other times we don't. This is where more of a mindset and emotional eating comes in handy because naturally, if we don't have a coping mechanism of emotional soothing or emotional support or what have you, what are we going to do? We are going to inevitably shove it down. I used to say you're either going to express yourself, or you're going to shut down whatever it is that you're supposed to be speaking. So speaking your truth is very much important in a class like this, because if you don't right, if you suppress the communication down, it's going to come out uh, one way or the other, and a lot of times it comes out in food. And you may not think you have a connection to food and eating, but rest assured, everyone has a connection to food and eating, whether it is subtle or not so subtle. We'll also dispel a lot of the myths around nutrition, because there's a lot of myths and crazy things around nutrition, meaning everybody's like, oh, this diet is the best. Oh, everybody needs to be a vegan, or everybody needs to be a pescatarian, or everybody needs to be, etc. I'm going to say not everybody needs to be anything. You do you, boo. And so you figure out what's going to work best for you and how your body's going to adjust. That may not mean that today your diet is super healthy. If you can do 1% better every single day, that's going to bode well for the future. So this is about creating a mindset, creating a structure, creating a plan, and then eventually executing it, which we'll work through. And again, like I said, we have that companion app to support you along the way. So first step is, if you want to register for this course, let me know. I will be sending an email out about the course. I already sent one, but just in case, this was a preview class. And I will be recording some videos on this class tomorrow, about 3, specifically about our mindset, macros, and then our food choices. So you'll have all of that information to be able to kind of chew over, pun intended, over the weekend. And then next week definitely starts getting hot. This is a self-paced course as well. So even though I do teach it live, after the courses are done, I typically will close them down and then put them in the patient portal. So the reason that I teach it live and out in the open for everybody is so you get to sample the information. Hey, touted kisses, so you get to see, okay, is this something that I really want to go more in depth in, something I want to learn, or something that I just want to, kind of looky-loo or whatnot. So it helps with that. Not all my courses are like that, but the first few definitely are in this segment. So anybody have any questions about their nutrition, what they want to eat, what they're going to eat, etc.? I think we'll close out with our balanced meal. Uh, right. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, so I'm going to finish out here. So, balanced meal, what does it mean to have a balanced plate? Remember, we're going to do a palm size version of our protein. Why? Because for women, we want kind of 4 ounces of protein, men about 6 ounces, and that's going to fit in the palm of your hand. No more than a thumb portion of your healthy fats. So, like your avocados, your oils, those sorts of things, no more than your thumb. That goes a long, long way, believe it or not. Hey, anarchy. And so half your plate, just right down the middle, is going to do your non-starchy vegetables. Those are like your kales, your collards, your broccolis, those sorts of things. And then the rest of it is going to go to your complex carbohydrates, which again are more of your whole grains or your starchy vegetables like your sweet potatoes and rice and things of that regard. So that's kind of, these are the ingredients that you're going to be using in every single meal, regardless of what the meal is. That 4 ounce, which is palm size protein, thumb portion of fats, half of the plate or bowl or whatever whatever utensil you're using to be able to eat. So whether it's a bowl or a plate, half of that needs to be your non-starchy vegetables, your green leafies, etc. And so you have that, and that is how you build a fulfilling meal, which should be about 300 to 500 calories. I know, that may seem like not enough, but really 300 to 500 calories is good. Once a week, definitely choose a time to splurge, one meal to splurge. Notice I didn't say a day, but actually one meal. We will touch upon food pairing as well. So for right now, make sure that you eat your fruit by itself. fruit is a slow fermenter, so anything that you put in, like protein, like fat, it's going to slow digestion down. So if you're going to do fruit, definitely make sure you do it by yourself. Sometimes I cheat and I'll do fruit with a little bit of protein with it, but by and large, we want to have fruit by itself. Also, too, we focus on eating seasonally as well, especially in holistic medicine. So, fall and spring are times where we transition. We typically go on a little bit more of a restrictive diet in the fall and the summer. The reason being is because we're transitioning from our heavier foods that you would eat in the winters, so your soups and stews and things like that, transitioning to those lighter foods that you eat in the summer, like your berries, like your fruit, like your more refreshing and non-heavy fruits and vegetables. So also think in those terms as well. And then we'll talk about some proper sourcing of foods, a little bit of growing of the foods, that sort of thing over the course of time. So, all right. Hard to believe that this class just flew by like that. Holy smokes. It's going to be interesting. But here we are. We are all done with our class today. Any questions about nutrition, about how we're going to structure this? Really, this class is designed to be super easy and super efficient and really be fun. It is a deep dive into nutrition, but more so into the structure of nutrition, which is why it's a 101 class. It's a basics class because it's really teaching you the basics on nutrition. Eventually, we will build upon that, but for right now, that's what we're working with, is really keeping it simple, because there's so much confusion around nutrition. There's so much stress around nutrition. So we want to simplify that. And again, this course is all designed for busy professionals. So I give you boom, 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 bulletin points, none of the fluff, just the meat, pun intended, right? So we want to make sure that you're really secure with your nutrition, because let's face it, your nutrition is going to account for everything. How does disease develop? Nutrient deficiencies, which lead to accumulation of toxins, which lead to overall organ health and function decline, which eventually leads to disease process. All right, so look out for my email if you guys need it, if you're interested in Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. That way I can get you registered and get you into the companion app. With the companion app, you will have access to message me. So if you have any specific questions, and because you'll be tracking your food data, I'll be able to give you direct feedback about your food, what's working, what's not working, where you need to improve, that sort of business. So huge value for just a $97 course. And it's really, again, even though it's not a foundational course, I feel like it's kind of foundational in order to know how to eat healthy, feed yourself well, and of course, feed your family well. So this is a Jumpstart to Healthy Eating. Just a really short, sweet way, tips, tricks, tools that I've learned over the course of my career. If you're not not familiar with my channel, my name is Dr. Erica Steele. I'm a board certified naturopathic doctor. I hold 7 degrees in my field, all in the natural healthcare space. I like to say that I went to school so you don't have to, but here we are, you're in school. So I am the founder of the International Institute of Integrative and Holistic Health Sciences, which teaches this bridge between science and holistic health and holistic medicine. So we bridge the gap. We kind of create more of an evidence-based holistic medical approach, which is pretty amazing. So I teach this class. I also teach Intro to Holistic Medicine 1 and 2. 1 is a self-guided course that you have instant access to. And then Intro to Holistic Medicine 2 is all about detoxification and elimination. So we're in week 1 now. I will teach your part 2 on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in that class, and I also teach the part 1 Wednesday at 7 p.m. On tomorrow morning, bright and early, last day of the week, morning flow. So Monday through Friday, I do morning flow, which is a great way to start your day with intention. It's 15 minutes of movement, 15 minutes of meditation, 15 minutes of journaling and or guided meditation, and then 15 minutes to plan your day and plan your food. So we'll combine those two. So we'll try to reinforce, and week after week, I'll probably build up when we're doing our meal planning, etc. So We have this course in Intro to Holistic Medicine 1 and 2. Right now, there is a bundle going on where you can get both courses, Intro to Holistic Medicine 1 and Intro to Holistic Medicine 2, for $297 versus the individual cost that you would do for both. If you have invested in Intro to Holistic Medicine 1, there is a special upgrade offer where you still get the buy one, get one. You just pay the difference between the 110 and the 297. I think it's like 187 or something like that. But when you do that, you get access to the courses. You also get access to all of the additional handouts. And like in this course, you get the app, and you get the app course, which is pretty awesome. And you get all those meal plans and recipes and all the things. So really great value for people. Hey Rebel, hey Robin, hey Jay. So if you're interested in turning your food around, I know it can be challenging to switch your food, especially if you've had, a certain feeding process, all your life. So we're going to take it slow. We're going to start with mindset this week. Look out for those videos that I'll record and post. And if there's no other questions, let me know. Let me know, or keep the peace. Let me go check in the IG. Hey, IG. How you guys doing? You doing good? All right, cool. Well, I'm going to log off on TikTok now. Thank you guys so much. I will see you all later tomorrow morning, bright and early at 6 a.m. for Morning Flow. All right, bye. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, IG. See you guys later. Enjoy. Have an amazing evening. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Morning Flow.